Giga Maggies, we heard it all through 2020. We might hear it even more in 2021. Big things in store, possibly for Texas A&M football in the SEC. The voice of college football, talking it up with Andrew Hattersley. You can join him on Gig'em 247 Sports. Andrew, how you doing today?
Good, and you, Mark? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We had you on around signing day. We are just talking about that. Appreciate all the insight, all the information you brought us then, and we need some more from you here.
Now spring practice is rolling on, right? But it feels like that we got that going on. The spring game's 2 weeks away, so kind of an exciting time now around college football.
Yeah, the boys got on the field on March 29th to get things started. The spring game coming up, the maroon and white, on April 24th. So this team looks primed to make a serious run, except for everybody's asking about the quarterback situation, of course. You graduate the most experienced guy in the history of the program and bring back, you got the true freshman. And when I say true freshman, of course, that's in 2021 context, with having the experience from a couple games in 2020 and Haynes King, who threw a couple touchdown passes last season, the redshirt freshman, and Zach Calzada, and what he did. He had 12 for 24 last season, and Eli Stowers, who's nobody's seen as just coming into college football as the 7th rated dual threat quarterback, according to the composite. So what do we know in regards to what these guys have shown us thus far?
Yeah, so it's obviously still early right now, and I think the first scrimmage is coming up this weekend. So we'll start to learn a lot more as the spring kind of rolls on here. But he's been happy with all three so far. He said, they've all picked up the offense, and he's been particularly impressed with Eli Stowers, actually, and just how quickly he's come into the program and started to pick things up. Obviously, Haynes King is a name that gets mentioned quite a bit, and his leadership and just coming from what he did in high school and learning under his father and kind of being a coach's son is something that has really benefited him so far in the collegiate level and in terms of leadership and picking up the playbook. And then there's Zach Calzada, who's just arm talent wise right up there with what he can do. And so this is going to go on for a while. I don't think we're going to really get an answer by the end of the spring. It's going to go into the fall. And Jimbo Fisher has kind of just said whoever kind of takes hold of those reps is who's going to win the job. And that's how he's always found success, is just let them battle it out, let them go through the spring, all getting the same amount of reps, all getting the same amount, and see who wins the job.
So if nothing else, I got the correct pronunciation on Stowers. I didn't know if it was Stowers or Stowers. I hadn't heard it before, I don't think, so I'll lock that in. And then when it comes to national perception, I got to say, Andrew, I don't know if you've picked up on this, but people that ask me about the quarterback situation in Texas A&M or comment on it, they just think that King's the guy and he's going to be the guy.
I think right now that's kind of the looking ahead to the fall. If there was a guy that people, the general consensus who thinks going to win the job, it would be Haynes King. He looked pretty impressive in his couple games last year. It was a short stint, obviously, at the end of games against Alabama and some games later in the season. But Zach Calzada is going to have his chance to win the job as well. But I think that's the general consensus, is that Haynes King is kind of the guy people do expect to win out.
It's kind of an interesting dynamic when you get so much experience and productivity coming back at the skill position spots, and then you've got this inexperienced quarterback. At least 2 of the 3 have been in the system and been on campus and working out, and so their teammates are comfortable with them and know them, but in terms of game experience, just not a whole lot there. Mm-hmm. When you look at this offensive line, this has been the calling card for this Texas A&M team for actually going back to the Kevin Sumlin days, just some of the great tackles that have entered the NFL draft, but especially this 2020 group was just stellar, and they lose 4. They bring back Kenyon Green, but besides that, how does this offensive line look?
Yeah, so that's going to be one of the things that has to get figured out this spring, and hard to kind of know how things are going so far, just in terms of we haven't had a chance to really get into practice yet and see scrimmages and this. I think that's going to be one of the biggest questions for the spring game. To be honest, just seeing how they perform. But Communication-wise, Jimbo Fisher's been happy with that as well. They did bring in Jameer Johnson, who was a grad transfer from Tennessee, to kind of help bolster the offensive line a little bit. Akinola Agunbi is one that has kind of caught people's eye, I think, as a guy that could fill in one of those roles, maybe on the interior of the offensive line, and Layden Robinson is another guy. They have guys who have been there, maybe not game experience, but again, talking about practice and um, going through this past year. I mean, they do have guys there. They just don't have playing experience.